Welcome to this tutorial on Geopack. This BagaPie's feature helps you create tools like mini add-ons for yourself or to share with others. You can simply install a pack created by someone else. It's a way to add tools to BagaPie. In this tutorial, we will learn how to create a pack, add modifiers, tools to it, and share it. The addition process is fairly simple. In Blender, I've made a basic modifier here. With Node to Panel, I showcased my modifier parameters in the BagaPie panel. We will explore Node to Panel later on. Now that everything is set up, I can save my tool, Scale Face, in my pack. Create your pack first. If you just installed BagaPie, you will first need to go to the BagaPie preferences in Geopack and set pack location. This just indicates to BagaPie where to store the pack's files. All packs will be saved in this location. If packs were already present, they will be detected as shown here. We will create a new pack. The only required information is the pack's name. The rest are optional and can be changed later. After naming, create your pack. The pack appears, and I can see that if I check info, I have the basic details. And I can modify them at any time. Now that we have our pack, we can add our tools to it. Let's go back to Blender. The modifier containing the node tree I want to save is selected. Therefore, I can save my modifier either through the context menu or the end panel. I choose which pack to add it to. Simple demo, I name my modifier as I wish. Here too, all other information is optional, and we will explore the other tabs in more detail later. Okay, I have created my modifier. From now, when I press V, my pack and the modifier will appear. I click on it, it gets added, and I can use it now. If I revisit the add-on settings, in the modifier section, my modifier Scale Face appears. I can add an icon to it, or edit it. I can remove this modifier. Caution, this action is final. The modifier will be totally removed. To recreate it, you will have to go through the process again. Here, we saw a very basic usage. Now, let's look at a much more advanced use of what Geopack can do. The tool we are going to create will be a draw scatter. Thus, when a surface is selected, we can run our draw scatter. BagaPie create a curve object, add the modifier on this curve, enters edit mode, enable draw curve. Our surface is moved to a new terrain collection and set in the target modifier input. All of this is automated by BagaPie Geopack. The same goes for the panel we have here. BagaPie displayed the modifier's properties. So to create our draw scatter. Here, my node tree is already set up. The values are visible. My assets are ready. And my tool too. To display the values here, I use BagaPie's node to panel feature. We select an input, for example asset, and I'm setting it to display the value. I repeat this for target. I can place the asset input in a new box and the input target inside the current box. It helps create more intuitive interfaces than a modifier stack that can become heavy with modifiers that have many parameters. I could have displayed other things. For example, the curve of a float curve node. I select a dedicated input, my node. I navigate here, set it to display as curve, and it shows up there. We don't need it here. If you want, you can copy this node tree. The operation is quite simple. Our curve comes in and we resample it. To manage the density, we instantiate our assets on the curve's points. Here, we randomize the position of the instances. And here, we snap the instances to our surface. To create the draw scatter tool, I select my object. I choose the modifier that contains the node tree I will save, which is visible thanks to the blue box. I click on Save as Geopack in the panel or in the BagaPie Pie menu, New Geopack modifier. At the top I select the pack to which I will add my modifier, in our case, Simple Demo. There are three tabs, Info, Usage and Data. Info is the details of the modifier, the authors, the version and the description. Usage is how the tool will function, how BagaPie will set up the modifier we are saving. Data refers to the node tree inputs datas, like objects, collections, materials, and so on. Any item that could be found within the modifier's inputs or in an input's default value. First, it's vital to select your modifier's name carefully. All other informations are optional and you can modify them later. In my case, it will be drawScatter, then usage. Here, I will define how my drawScatter tool works and how BagaPie sets it up. As we saw earlier, for my tool to function, BagaPie needs to create a new curve, enter edit mode, switch to draw mode, and select the surface I chose, put it into a collection, and set the collection in the target input. Below, you will find a summary of how the modifier will work. This is based on what you have configured here. Here, we see that the active object needs to be a mesh. This object is the one that will receive the modifier. Specifically, I wanted to create a new object. Among the options available, I will include create a new object. Here, I will set that the new object is a curve. I want it to automatically switch to draw mode. It will generate a 3D curve that will be projected onto the surface. Furthermore, for the surface, I have selected to go into a terrain collection and be included in the modifier. I allow it to select. I say the selected objects must be meshes. I want the collection created to be named terrain and for it to be included in the input target. There are numerous options available. For example, if I hadn't needed a target, a terrain on which to draw my assets, I could have permitted selection in the asset browser, setting it to create a collection called grass and put the collection in the assets tab. Therefore, we could have selected our grass assets directly from the asset browser. And when using the drawScatter tool, BagaPie would import these assets and put them in a collection and set it in the input. Lastly, there is the data tab. This particular tab is important if your inputs include objects, collections, and materials. It is important to know that all the information in your node tree, in object nodes, collections, and materials, will be saved with your node tree. Alternatively, the information in the modifier's inputs and the default values for inputs type, objects, collections, materials, etc. can be kept or not. We have Save, Purge, and a button for marking as assets. Save will preserve the collection, object, or material currently set in the modifier's inputs. Purge, if activated, will eliminate the default values from the inputs of collections, objects, materials, etc. In my case, I wanted to save the collection in the asset input, and if there was anything as a default value in my asset input, I want it removed. I also wanted to label my grass as an asset. Caution, it won't generate a preview for the asset. Okay, the modifier has been created. When I call my pie menu, it shows up properly. He is grayed out there because I said it should select a mesh. And if I go into Preferences in Geopack, Simple Demo, Modifier, there is my drawScatter modifier. I can open it, I can add an icon to it, or change its details. And here, I have a summary of how it works here. If I start a new Blender, Simple Demo, drawScatter, it appears correctly and it works well. There, we created a single tool, but we can add 32 per pack. We can also add an asset library to a pack. Go to Simple Demo. If I go back to my pack, my modifiers are there. If I open the Assets tab, I see that my grass assets are there. If I open my asset browser in Simple Demo, all my assets appear, but I can directly add assets by selecting the blend files with these assets. Finally, I can share my Simple Demo pack that will contain all my tools and assets by clicking here. It will create a .geopack file, and anyone will be able to install this pack, use the tools, and access the asset library. Now, I encourage you to view the tutorial for creating scattering presets that are based on the BagaPie scatter system, thanks to Geopack.
Thanks for your time. If you have a few minutes, check out our other add-ons and assets. I hope BagaPie helps you. Thanks.